All right, well, to say that I never thought I would ever be making a video like this is an understatement. Um, but here we are. And we are in for quite the journey, quite the story. Whether or not you agree with everything I'm about to share, whether or not you end up giving your life to Jesus if you're currently in the New Age, um, you're in for a good story either way, whatever your beliefs are. And I just said a little prayer that Jesus is with me through this video, and that the intention is to glorify God. Yes, it is a wild story. Yes, I have been through crazy things, but now I can see that it was all to get to this point. It was never about me. I didn't think I was going to be making this video this soon, but I was planning on in the next like few weeks to share my testimony. I had posted on Facebook a few days ago, basically apologizing, to the people that I had led astray through the New Age, and basically kind of renouncing it. And my intention was just to share that with like my Facebook friends, the people that followed me and were in my like community. And what started as, a lot of those people making fun of me and coming against it, and I was like reading every comment, it was like backlash, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of heavy. I was like on a walk and I was like, God, I don't know, this is kind of intense, like I don't know if I can handle this. Literally overnight I checked it again, and it had been commented on by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Christians supporting what I was doing, and I couldn't even find those comments anymore. And now, let's see, it has been shared like thousands of times, and I will clarify again by saying this was not my intention. I wasn't like, I'm gonna post this and like a lot of people are gonna see it and I'm gonna become famous through Jesus. That was not at all what I was trying to do, or did I think that like anyone would see it. That was not on my following list. This is all God. This is nothing to do with me. I do have people in the comments saying like, oh, it's clear what you're doing. You're leaving New Age and now you're going to make money from Jesus. And I'm like, oh, I promise you I've made $0 through Jesus, and I've literally left my business behind. But okay, this was not me. I didn't plan on it. It wasn't, this had nothing to do with me. This was not my plan. This is Cleo, for this to reach this many people. It's incredible and could only be God, because I promise you, in 6 years of my New Age business, I never, ever, 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 ever had a post reach this many people. This is not me. This is God, okay? So it has 35,000 likes, 5,000 comments, and 5,000 shares. So what's so funny is I was going to make this video like in the next few weeks, and God is making it very clear that no, you're going to make it now. You're going to make it now. I'm like, oh, okay. So and I understand there's going to be spiritual warfare in the comments. That's definitely happening. But it's like one negative comment for every like 100 good ones. And a lot of people are saying that I should, spend time with God first and not post my testimony right away. And I just like, now I can see clearly like, why would Christians wanting to celebrate God say that? Right? Wouldn't you be like, yes, please go share? Also, you don't know how much time I have taken before I posted that. So again, I listen to God and not man now. So I am not doing this for me. This is not fun to share. It's actually really embarrassing that I was so wrong and so deceived and was teaching people stuff that's not true. Believe me, this is not like an easy, fun thing for me to do. It is deeply humiliating. People telling me to repent. Oh, I have. Oh, I have been crying for hours, realizing and just being like, how could I have been so foolish? And that's one thing that I do want to share before I go into the full testimony. Like, when you're in New Age, you're not like, this is a deception. You are not like actively turning away from something that you know is the truth, which is Jesus. is Lord and God is the only one who is the real savior, you're not being like, yeah, I know that's true, but like, I'm gonna look over here. We're being taught so heavily and meticulously in the New Age community that that is the truth, that this is the higher consciousness, open-minded path, and that y'all over here, Christians and people that believe in Jesus, are, as some people said in the comments, a kindergartner level of spirituality and the ones being deceived and controlled. It is so heavily manipulate, and it's like this, the only way I can see it now is like this thick spell that people are under, and it's weaved and turned, and it's I always thought that if there was a devil that he was stupid. No, because I am not, and I've talked to some of my girlfriends about this that came from the New Age. I am not a stupid person. I'm a really quite intelligent woman, and I was so deceived. So this isn't like, for those of you who haven't been in the New Age, like, it is such a deception and lie, but it's like very strategic and very layered and nuanced, and like there's this whole other world which seems just so appealing to people. So that's the disclaimer about the New Age. It's not like easy to see through at all if you don't have Jesus, if you don't have the Holy Spirit. And now that I do, I can look at it and be just, I'm just shocked. I'm just so honestly just like humiliated. And like, believe me, I have spent hours crying and just saying, I am so sorry, God, that I literally led people astray from you. I'm so sorry. I did not know what I was doing. Okay, so I have notes because this is going to be long and I have to actually like keep track of everything that's happened. I will two disclaimers here, I guess. One, this is some heavy stuff I'm going to share. It involves like really intense, really scary spiritual warfare. I would recommend that if you do have kids that you listen to it first and then see if they're able to watch it. And then two, it's probably going to be pretty long. I don't know how long it's going to take to share this, probably over an hour. You can put on the speed, you can speed it up to like 1.5 or whatever. And I'll just say a quick prayer again because I feel like, yeah, I just feel anxious to post this and share it because it's a heavy story and it's also extremely vulnerable. I fully am aware before I shared that I was involved in a lot of sin, a lot of really messed up stuff, that I had strayed very far away from God, and that I was being very deceived, and it literally almost cost me my life multiple times. But the last time, I barely got out. I barely got out alive. So I am aware. I don't need anyone in the comments being like, "You crazy, you didn't know, you're stupid." I know. I see it now. I see it. I have repented. I have also gone through deliverance from the New Age stuff, and I literally did feel an energy leave because they were praying over me and they started talking about witchcraft energies in my whole body. This was actually like after I had prayed to Jesus and renounced everything to him and gotten rid of all of it. This was just like 2 weeks ago that they were praying over me at Bible study, and I felt like I was on fire. And then they mentioned like the witchcraft energy and they commanded it to leave, and I like literally felt like I was on fire, and I felt something leave that was still affecting me in subtle ways, like a little bit of depression and anxiety. But yeah, it's real. Okay. So God, I just ask that you, and I know I'm gonna cry probably multiple times. I'm so humbled and just grateful that you have saved me, that now it's really heavy for me to look at this, and it's really sad, and I'm angry about how deceived I was, and I just hope that you use this story to glorify your name and to hopefully help some people that are still in the New Age that couldn't see it, because I understand what they're going through and what they feel and how trapped they are. And I just ask for a hedge of protection. I know there will be people who kind of come at me, and I know I can handle it with you. So thank you. Amen. All right, so my upbringing, I was raised Christian, which is one of the craziest things too. I was a Christian, but I will say it wasn't my choice. And my family, thank you so much for at least like, preaching so much of the gospel and having me born in that. But I was not a choice. It was kind of forced on me, and that's why I eventually rebelled. So I grew up going to church every Sunday. I grew up praying over meals. I grew up learning about Jesus. I was in youth groups, vacation Bible school. We went to church like pretty much every Sunday. My dad would sit there and read his Bible. So I was around it. I never had a personal connection with Jesus. I never personally felt his energy. I never personally interacted with him. So I kind of like learned about it all in a way where it was just like, okay, this guy is like real and like this is what you believe and that's it. And it's like, okay, well, it's kind of hard to like really fully believe that and have a relationship with him when I had never experienced anything. So I don't think I ever voluntarily read my Bible or prayed, maybe. As a kid, now I know I was dealing with spiritual warfare pretty much every night. I was always terrified to go to sleep. I always felt energies around me. I remember just like having to be under the blanket. And if even like, I told myself, like, if I was under the blanket, I was safe. But like, if even my foot was out, like the monsters would get me. I don't remember seeing anything, but maybe God has blocked that out. But I always was scared. I had so much fear and anxiety from age like 5. I was always afraid someone was going to break into the house and like kill us. And um, probably like we watched a lot of like kind of scary movies when I was a kid, and I watched them. I would like, I wouldn't look, but like I didn't feel safe being up in my room and just not being around it because I didn't want like hear the noises and like not be around my family. So I was around that, and now I know that stuff can come through that. um but yeah, I was just terrified all the time as a kid. I felt very sensitive. I was very sensitive emotionally, and I think energetically as well. um Needed to spend a lot of time like by myself and outside and stuff. So yeah, from ages up until like 19 until I left for college, I was in the community. But I think what kind of made me not want to resonate or be like embarrassed to be a Christian eventually was like high school. I was not only a Christian, but I was in the band. I started playing the flute when I was young. I'm now a professional flutist, and that's a whole other thing about how God's going to revive that. But I was made fun of for being in band, that it was like the weird Christian girl, so I just felt embarrassed of both of the things, and it wasn't cool. I was already not popular and getting made fun of, and then it was just something I was ashamed of. And as soon as I, you know, went to colleges when I rebelled, and I remember in high school there was, I think it was like a little culty, like the Bible studies I would go to in the youth group, they'd be like, put your hands up. And I'm like, oh, like, no, put your hands up. Like, they would like make us put our hands up. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. And I remember we were doing this, I don't know, it's some Bible school or something about, purity before marriage. And the parents had to bring like the check for like $200 for the ring. And I was so happy when my mom showed up and forgot the check, which meant I didn't have to like wear this ring and like, show the world that I was gonna remain pure until marriage. It was just so forced. And I just felt so much shame. Like we'd go to church and they would just yell and be like, "You're gonna go to hell if you have sex." And it was just so intense, and it didn't feel like love. So that's why I turned away. And then when I went to music school in college, I was like, I'm finally free, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Um, I didn't really stray that far in high school. I maybe drank like a few times, and I did remain, abstinent until college. And I just remember meeting so many open minded people from all these other religions and experiences and viewpoints. And I was like, oh, this is so rich in culture and music. And, I just started to be around a lot more people, and it was the cool thing to do to drink, and started drinking a lot. And, I was in music school. My dream was to play in, professional orchestra. So I would like go out drinking with my friends and like try to find boys, and dress all cute, and then like practice during the day. And I was like very serious about the flute. And eventually gave up my, purity for a man who was older and said he wouldn't date me unless I did. And yeah, it just was involved with not good men, and they were very abusive, and didn't show me love. But I just, from a young age, I just wanted a husband. I just wanted a man, and I was just crazy about boys. And now I know it was Jesus that I was missing. And one of the first few men that I was with, it was not consensual, and I didn't know that it would be called the R word. I didn't know that that's what had happened. And I was too ashamed about it to tell my parents because they would like grill me and be like, "Did you have sex?" And I'd be like, "No." I was so scared, so I couldn't really talk to my mom about it. And from that point, it cheapened it for me and it lost its value. And I think it just broke my heart and shut me off. So from that point, I um, didn't care about remaining pure again, or I didn't value it. I thought that it was the way that I could get a man, to love me. So I really know that the enemy was like already coming after me and planting seeds to just harden my heart and take that beautiful thing away from me, and traumatize me, to be honest. So I kept drinking and, partying, and I just was not, going down a path. I didn't really believe in anything at the time. And I really struggled with ADHD. And obviously now I know like the drinking was not helping anything. The unhealthy diet and lifestyle I had was not helping my focus. I tried to get on beta blockers and Adderall to help with my anxiety so I would be, a better flute player. And the ADHD medicine made it worse, and it felt like I was gonna like pass out. My heart was pounding so much. So eventually the doctor was like, "You lost weight on this, it's not helping you. You can't be on this medication anymore." And I was like, "Well, I need help." Like I would play really hard, classical music, and then my thoughts would make me mess up. So I Googled, holistic remedies for ADHD, and I found out about like supplements, ginkgo, about whatever, and then meditation. And this was, what year was this? 2012, maybe 2013. So I started meditating just like, a few seconds a day, and then it really did help. It helped a lot with my focus. I think I calmed down on the drinking a little bit when I got to grad school. And in undergrad, I did really well. I won multiple competitions. Like I was really killing it with the flute and got into an amazing graduate school. But in undergrad, I had taken on a lot of debt, a lot of student loans, about 100,000 in student loans, which is insane. And I just felt this like pressure starting to build. Then I went to grad school. I got this like amazing gold flute. It was like $30,000 that I took out a loan for, so that's more debt. And I kept meditating, and it did help. I will say it helped a lot. I was able to really like start to focus and like calm my energy and not be as like frantic. And it did help me be a better flute player. It helped me with focus, but um, grad school was great. Again, I was like really on the path to be a really great flutist, and I still am, but it definitely got disrupted. So I won like the big competition at my school, at my graduate school, and I was starting to like audition for orchestras, and that was again the one dream I had. But what I now know is like my dream was to be on stage. My dream was like have all these people like seeing that I had made it. It was ego, and it wasn't to glorify God, of course. Now I can see that. So then grad school around 2000, what would that be, like 2015, 16, my mom got diagnosed with leukemia, and then my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And I just started to think about life in a different way. It was just a lot heavier. I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm focusing on this orchestra job when like my dad's gonna die. Like what's life really about? And then this is where it started to send me on a path of trying to figure out, the deeper meaning of life, where I started to like open my mind, to inner work and things like that. And I will say, I'll share another video on like more detail of this, but like I've almost died 4 or 5 times, and now looking back, I know that it was Jesus and God that saved me. It wasn't my guides. So after I finished grad school, I was on my way to an audition, and I ended up getting into a car accident and hydroplaning across the highway and crashing into this mountain. And I just remember like thinking audibly, like, someone wants me to be alive. This tree like literally came through my driver's side window. It was like inches from my face. I just have this like tiny scar here. But that was the first time I fell into like a really deep depression. And the way that I know now that the enemy came after me was removing the flute for me. So when I was depressed, the multiple times I was depressed, I would stop playing my flute and I was disconnected. That was like my one like piece of light in my life that connects me to God. But when I was depressed, I would stop playing. So my dad was sick, and it became obvious that like he was eventually going to die. He fought for 5 years, which is incredible at his age, stage 4 colon cancer. Um, During this time is when I moved to Austin and moved with an ex, who I thought I was going to marry, and started to open my mind about other things and get involved into the spiritual community. I was teaching flute lessons full time in the school districts, and then I started to just kind of like a little bit before COVID, like, learning about meditation more and these spiritual practices. And eventually that man broke up with me, which was really hard. And I know another attack from the enemy because I was just never dating the right men. None of them were Christians. None of them that I ever dated were Christians. He said he couldn't marry me, and I was like, oh my gosh, my dad is dying. I moved across the country for this man, threw me into another depression. But I slowly, picked myself back up, and I started to make some friends. And then I think what happened around, I guess it was like 2020, when I tried Reiki for the first time because I just had so much anxiety that I couldn't figure out how to heal. I had been in therapy, it didn't really help. So I had my first Reiki session and I thought it was crazy. I was like, okay, this lady's gonna like wave her hand a bunch about above me and I'm gonna like pay her for that. Like, it seems kind of weird, but like, I'm open to try whatever, if it'll help my anxiety. So I tried it, and she tells me, you're going to be a healer. You're meant to be a healer. And I was like, okay, I play the flute, lady. Like, I teach the flute. Like, cool. She was like, I'm telling you, you're going to be a healer. And it took 2 years from that point for me to like redirect to that path. But that was like the first seed that was planted. I thought it was crazy. I was like not open to it at all. I don't even know how this happened, but for some reason I heard about like mushrooms and I was like, okay, my dad's gonna die. Like, I had this like kind of friend group and they were like, you need to try it. It's so like beautiful and open-minded. And I did it, and I would say like that time it did kind of help to like open my mind to like life after death and like, always be connected with my dad and stuff. But um, it just it just started to plant seeds because it feels so good when you're on it. You feel like love, and you feel like peaceful and you like get insights to yourself and like feel like you're like expanding your knowledge and stuff. But eventually it opened up a lot of doors. So, and I think at that time, yeah, around 2020, I had started to do like an inner work sort of program, like single to soulmate. And I will say, that was in 2020. It is 2026. Not married. Did not work. Not married. Now I know why, right? Because I was not dating anyone that God would have recommended. But that's kind of what started to open me up to more things. And, though it wasn't super spiritual. It was like maybe there was some stuff about like manifestation and journaling, but it was mostly like about healing attachment styles, which I do think helped me a lot and was good. And like, self-worth and things like that. But there was no mention of God. Like, I didn't have anyone that talked about God, no Christians in my life. There was this other program, maybe you heard about it, like To Be Magnetic, and that was more like deep meditations about like the subconscious and stuff. So it just kind of started to like slowly open. Yeah, and then in 2021, unfortunately my dad passed away and I got to see him one last time for Christmas. And yeah, it really hit me hard. It really hit me very, very hard. And the way I kind of coped with that was like there was a community here in Austin about like, Wim Hof and ice baths. And like, I will say that community did hold me. They weren't super woo, so I think it was like good. But from there, things started to expand, and I was just so heartbroken and full of grief about my dad. And I was alone in Texas. My whole family's in Pittsburgh, and I didn't really have people to talk to about it. I certainly didn't go to church, or talk to anyone religious about it or who loved Jesus. Like, I didn't have that, so I held on to that grief for a long time. And a lot of the practices that I did after this were a lot trying to heal that, right? And I eventually became a psychic medium, part of it hoping to connect with my dad. So it's like it came from love, but it just shows how the deception can target people who have been through trauma and hardship and grief and lost people to, hope that we can connect with them. So shortly after my dad passed, like I said, I was teaching flute, full time in the schools, and like it was fine, but I didn't love it. I really wanted to be like performing, but then I started to feel less connected to the classical world. I felt like it was kind of like boxed in, and um, so I remember meditating one time, and I do believe this was a good part of my path, and I was just asking, source. I didn't really say God back then. I was so kind of traumatized from religion that I didn't use the word God for like 15 years. I remember saying like spirit or source or universe, just I don't really want to teach anymore. I'll maybe teach like a little bit, but like I just want to be performing, and I'm kind of opening to this like spiritual path now. Like I want to help people with music. I didn't even really know what sound healing was. Show me what my path is, and I was meditating and listening to some music on my phone, and this Native American flute track started playing, and I literally felt like my soul. Who knows if it was God, my soul, my higher self? I don't know, kind of like leap out and say like, you're supposed to be a sound healer, like go buy a Native American flute today. And I will say, I sound healing in itself is not evil. It was how I was using it as like me as the healer. These instruments are healing you, sound healing, right? It's how the spiritual community uses it as the healer instead of God. And I'll explain a little bit more about how God has told me to like transition that. So I don't believe that that's inherently evil. I know some Christians are like triggered on my stuff, and they're like, you're still doing demonic stuff. I'm like, okay, let me explain a little bit more about that from a professional musician who has a background in music and music theory, went to college, went to grad school. I'll explain a little bit more. But the way that I was doing it, yes, a lot of people were having these crazy spiritual experiences, flying out of their bodies, seeing all these visions, because I didn't know that, especially in a spiritual context, like if it's at like a Reiki and sound healing event, a lot of those people in there are in the new age and gonna have those experiences where originally I just started by playing classical music on my flute like I normally do, but having people like close their eyes, and it put them into a deeper meditation and trance. I wasn't doing that, you know what I mean? So I was in that world for a long time, and basically, by like my flute was like the entry into a lot of other stuff, right? Then I met people and I helped with a meditation community, and then I added the singing bowls, which again are not inherently evil. The singing bowls are actually just pitches of the C major scale. The root chakra bowl is a C. It's the same as if you like press that on the piano, but the context, right, and the association that's with the bowls, obviously has been distorted as the bowls healing you and stuff. But part of that journey for me was really beautiful because I started singing, which I had never done before, and I started playing other types of flutes, and starting to improvise, like, and opening up my musical gifts, which was beautiful. That was fine. What was not great, which I didn't know, was all the other people I met that did Reiki and womb healing and dance and tantra and kundalini and yoga and all these other things. So I just went full force into everything. I did mushrooms again many times, probably like 20 times. And I did not know that I was opening doors. I eventually started learning Reiki because my plan was to eventually like transition out of my teaching job and be like a full-time like healer. So I got trained in Reiki. I eventually became a Reiki master. I eventually trained other people in Reiki. I had many clients. I was kind of balancing my teaching job and Reiki sessions and sound healing while also going to a lot of other events and exploring that. This was like 2021, 2022. Then I started learning about manifestation from Catherine Zenkina, Manifestation Babe. And I would just look up to this girl and like, man, like I wish I had this life, and she's manifesting like her husband and like, all this money and like success and like great things. Like, I can do that too. And I started learning about the law of attraction and manifestation. I was like, oh my gosh, this is how I'm gonna like, get these things that I want and like build my life. And I will say my intention was always to help people. I always had a kind heart. I really just wanted to help people. I was extremely like empathetic, and I just saw the darkness in the world and how many people were suffering from anxiety and depression and illness and all these things. And I did find a little relief from Reiki and sound healing and these things. So I was like, okay, well, now I want to help people with this. Do I believe it's all evil? No, it can help people, but it's when you're putting these modalities above God and you're saying Reiki is healing you, sound healing is healing you. It's these modalities that are healing you. And I forgot, literally forgot about God. So became a Reiki master. I was still using mushrooms, and I was like finding out more about my past and like trying to heal. And I didn't realize I had all this trauma from like my childhood and all these things, which a lot of us do. But it was like the mushrooms and the beings that I started to like encounter and that were kind of starting to slowly turn me against my family. And I know that my mom is so, so happy that I finally see this, because she has been praying for me for years. And like, this is like one of the most disgusting, distorted things that I think the New Age can do, is like turn you against your family and say, like, well, if they're not like adding peace to your life, just cut them out. And that's what I was like seeing all around me. My family was already rocky from losing my dad. So it was like all these memories came up from childhood, and I started to piece things together and see how like, okay, well, this happened, I was treated this way, so this led to me, being a people pleaser and being like this and leading to these awful relationships. So I was like starting to turn the blame on my upbringing, on my family. And in the Bible it literally says honor your father and mother. So I always started to get angry at them, especially my mom. And I started to open up, learn more about like my childhood and all the trauma. And little did I know, again, this was the enemy turning me against my mom, against love, right? Against my own family, my own flesh and blood. And as I started to learn about manifestation, it was a lot centered around like abundance. And to like gain abundance, you need to like spend more money. You need to spend money you don't have. And I kind of got convinced through this stuff to like spend money that I didn't have. So I ended up getting a little bit of money from my mom for my dad's passing to like pay down my debt, because I had racked up not only student loans but credit cards from college. Surviving on credit cards and all these things. And man, like just the way like my life just started to crumble piece by piece by piece by piece. And I couldn't see it. Like I felt influenced to use that money to get a better car, which my mom had paid off my Honda Civic, which was a fine car. And it was a two-door, so it wasn't great for like my huge dog and like all my sound healing stuff, but like I could have kept that car and not had a car payment for the last 5 years. But my guides that I kind of started to open up to, were like, you have to like upgrade your life and like get a better car. And like I ended up getting leasing a car where I now had like a $500 a month payment. And then they were like, move into a better apartment because you're like abundant. So I ended up moving to a better apartment that was now $1,700 a month, in a great area in Austin. And I was still teaching, and like I had no idea how much money I was making. Like my mom gave me the money, yeah, but I didn't look at like how much money I was making. Like, can I afford this place? So I was trying to fall into like a lot of financial like struggle, but still keeping the faith that I was going to be abundant, and like I have to just pretend that I'm wealthy, and read all the books, Think and Grow Rich, Manifestation Babe, took her courses with coaches, like every book I've read it. I was dating a guy at that time that I was madly in love with at my guides, and a ayahuasca ceremony. It was like ayahuasca and mushroom combined were like told me like he is your soulmate, and I so gave my heart to him and fully believed that. No, not true. So when we ended up breaking up, it broke me. Like it really broke me, because I was so certain from these beings or whatever telling me that he was the one, that I just like was in shock when we broke up, because he had been lying to me the whole time. A whole other story. So then after we broke up, I had like just became a Reiki master. Is this when I quit my job? Yeah, sometime around this, yeah, so the way that I like started connecting with like the guides, there's like this thing. I remember I googled it because I listened to a podcast. They were talking about spirit guides. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, like we have these beings that can help us. And I googled it, and man, I wish I would have listened to the first thing I googled, because it was like a Christian post saying like their demons, don't mess with it. So I didn't at that time. But then a few months later I was like, no, a lot of people are talking about this, like that's just fear. So it was like, all you have to do to open to them is just say out loud that you want to connect with your guides, you know? So I like said it out loud, and I was like, send me a sign, you know, if you're real, like send me whatever. And I started to open to them. And I don't even remember like the first few interactions I had, but like with the manifestation stuff, this is the thing, like I got proof that it was real. And this is like, I'm gonna have to share other videos of like how the deception was, because you really believe that it's real, because if you ask these things for a sign, they will show you, right? And maybe God doesn't always show up in that way. You're not like, show me a yellow Lamborghini, and he's like, okay, here you go. Like, but the manifestation world, the guides, the beings, now I know, so want you to believe that it's true and gain your trust, that they will send you those signs. So it was like, I read The Secret, and I was like, okay, well, you know, I don't really believe this, but I'm gonna give it a try. Like, there's a story about the guy in the book, and he's like, I don't really believe it, but like I'm gonna think of a feather with a certain like colors on it, and then he ends up seeing it. So I picked like the most crazy thing, which was like um an orange cat with like stripes everywhere except for the tail, white paws, and a white snout. And I was like, I'm gonna think about this cat like a few times, and I highly doubt this is gonna come true, but it did. And that fully convinced me. I was like, okay, my first thought was, if this can happen, I can manifest money with this. And that was the thing that I like wanted so bad, because I had so many people telling me, you're never going to be successful in music, like you should pick something else, you're never going to pay this off. Like, I still wanted to prove to people that I could make money, you know, and manifest money. So when that cat like appeared in this crazy way, like this bar I walked into was like an orange cat with stripes everywhere except for the tail, it had a white snout and white paws. I was like, holy cow, manifestation is real. I can just apply the same formula to money. Um, Thank God I never really made that much money. Like, yeah, I made some, but I never like manifested like crazy amounts of money. Like, it didn't really work that well. I never manifested my husband. Did I bring in some partners and like opportunities? Sure, but it wasn't like, I'm actually really grateful that I wasn't that good at manifesting a dream life, because I would have been hooked. But it almost like made it harder, because then I would try harder, right? Then I would try another modality. It was like, there's something else that I have to heal. Maybe I didn't see this shadow. Maybe it was this trauma. So it was like kind of like twofold, like because it really wasn't working that well. But I put all the blame on me. I made it my fault. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not healed enough. I can't do it. I'm broken. All these things. Like, I just have to heal more. You know, I just have to do another modality. So it's kind of like, that's how it got me. But also, I think if it had worked so well, like some people I do see in the new age are like literally like millionaires, it would be a lot harder to give up. I came to such a surrender that I was like, this is not it. Like, I cannot. I obviously have not succeeded in building my dream life. So like, help. You know, it gets worse. I promise you. Like, this story, if it gets way worse, it gets way more dark, it gets way more insane. This is just like the sprinkle at the beginning. So break up with my ex, and then I get invited to sit with ayahuasca, like the real like drink. And I felt this was a sign, you know, because I heard about it so many times. It was like all around, like ayahuasca, I did it and changed my life and it healed. And at this time, I believe this was after, so wild, the guides in my mushroom ceremony I had done by myself told me to quit my job. And my job was a full-time flute teacher in the school districts. I wasn't like wealthy, but I was surviving. You know, I was making money. I was teaching kids. I was teaching high school students, you know. And in my mushroom ceremony, this was, yeah, after I broke up with my ex in 2022. This is how they get you. Like, some of the stuff they told me was real. So I'm like channeling these beings who are like, you know, we're your star family, like all this stuff, or like the aliens you've been wanting to connect to, and like we've been like trying to contact you. And they go, you know, you're it's like all ego, right? It's like this was all the enemy. And it was like, you're too good for this job, like they're only paying you, you know, this amount, like you deserve to be paid so much more, because you're now teaching them about like you know, visualization and manifestation, like inner work, like you should be paid so much more. And they're like, you know what you're worth. um they're like, you're not worth $30 an hour, you're worth 3,000 an hour. Like you're gonna be a big coach, you're gonna help so many people like heal, like you need to quit that job, like you're gonna be this amazing healer. And like they literally said, you're gonna you're gonna be, instead of like working for the school, you're going to work for a very wealthy family that has daughters who want to learn the flute, and they're going to pay you like 5 times what you're making right now, and you need to be brave and quit your job. Do you know anyone like that? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And they literally told me the name of this guy, and they were like, call him right now. And I'm like, no, no, like he doesn't really know me that well. He's like a millionaire, and had this like, you know, these recovery businesses and stuff. They're like, call him right now. I'm like, literally high on mushrooms, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like I call him, and he was like, oh my gosh, you will not believe this, like I'm currently in a meeting right now with this guy who like channels like the aliens. Like, oh my gosh, you're like, you're a channeler, like you're an alien, like whoa, this is crazy. And I was like, do you by chance need like a nanny who's like a musician? He was like, oh my gosh, we've been looking for this, we've literally been looking for like a nanny that's like also a musician. Like, oh my gosh, let's interview you. We're like, you know, on vacation right now, let's like meet when, you know, I get back in town next week. Like, yes, it's you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like thank you, like these beings are helping me. So I straight up quit my job. I quit my job. I'm like, okay, I'm secured. Like, I quit my job, and the band directors are kind of like upset with me. They're like, come on, it's like the middle of the season. Like, can you finish out, you know, this? And I I just said no. And I like kind of, I was starting to charge like more than you're really supposed to, because I saw the other teachers doing it. And I they kind of found out. One of them found out, and they were like, we'll let you stay, you know, if you charge like the normal rate. And I was like, you know what, like everyone else is doing it, why are you coming after me? Like it's fine, like I have another job anyway, like I don't need it, I don't need you. And I quit. And I never got hired by that person. I never got hired by that person. I was now dealing with a $1,700 rent, $500 car. I had left my job, my security, and I had like clients here and there, you know, but it was not enough. And I had run out of the money that my mom had given me. And I remember just like laying in my bed all day one day, so depressed, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do DoorDash, but like the amount of hours I would have to do to even try to like pay for my bills, like I don't even think it's possible. So like I couldn't like make myself do it, because it was like it wasn't even gonna do it, it wasn't even gonna work, right? So then I got this idea from the guides to do this like 21-day abundance challenge and teach about manifestation, all that. And it went really well. Like I taught about like reprogramming your mind and stuff, but like I was broke at the time, but people manifested thousands of dollars. Like, and I just did donation base, and it covered my bills, you know. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start coaching, I'm gonna start doing manifestation coaching, because I had like manifested some things here and there, you know. um and I started going to coaching, and then that's when I got invited to sit with ayahuasca. and yeah, so 2022, sat with ayahuasca. It was one night. I literally threw up for like 7 hours straight. I was so sick. I thought I was gonna die. And it was just, again, it was like tempting me with like the anger against my mom and my family, and like how they didn't see me. And I was like special. And my sister was jealous of me. And I just remember like posting, I was like talking about it on the podcast that I had, and like kind of like coming after my family, and they found the podcast and listened to it, and they were just like, we're so upset with you, like you're like spilling our family details. And I was like, oh, they just don't want their deception to like come to light, and they're like after me, and like I have to stand strong, I'm like the healer of my generation, you know. Like sorry. So yeah, I definitely think I opened up a lot of doors with ayahuasca, because my life blew up. My life just got worse. It got worse, and I thought that she was like ripping everything out from my life to like rebuild it. No, that's what God's doing right now. So I then decided that I wanted to be a psychic. It's like 2022, and I said out loud multiple times, I want to be a medium. I want to be a medium. I want to be a psychic. I just thought it was so like feminine to like be intuitive, you know, and be able to like connect with beings. Like I just thought it was like, I don't know. I just thought it was like feminine and cool and like I don't know. I don't know what it was like that was alluring about it. I just felt like it was like what's the word? I don't know, just like unique and like I was like intuitive. Like that's like something you hear about like feminine women. They're like intuitive, you know, they're like connected to spirit, you know. So kept saying I wanted to be a medium, and then I did mushrooms again, and this had never happened before. I had never seen anything on mushrooms. Trigger warning, I saw a dead girl. I walked into my room, and I'm not talking like a ghost. I'm talking like as clear as you see me right here. I walked into my room, under my bed, I saw a dead girl. She was like 7 years old, and I like saw how she died. She was just like laying there with like a pool of blood, and like her neck was snapped, and I was just like, okay, huh? And you know, I left the room, and it was gone, and yikes. So I was like, okay, wow, like they answered my prayer. Like I wanted to be a medium, and like this girl like must have died here, and like I felt deeply disturbed by it. So I'd reached out to this like other healer. You know, it's like, I saw this. Like, can you help like clear it from my space? And he was like, oh yeah, like this girl died, you know, in the 70s. Like she was murdered in your room, and like it opened up this portal. So that's why you're getting attacked in your dreams and stuff. Because I was having dreams of like being like pursued by like men, like in an aggressive way, and it disturbed me for weeks. I was deeply disturbed and freaked out about it. It was like I never wanted to see anything. I never like it always freaked me out. I never was into the scary movies. Like it really freaked me out. And I was like, maybe I don't want this. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna set a boundary. Like I don't want to see anything with my eyes open. I just want to be able to like see and kind of feel like over there. You know, I don't want to actually physically see these beings. So then, yikes. So, guys, I can't even believe like how deeply in it I was and how dangerous all of this was. Then unfortunately in July of 2022, I was assaulted, physically by a dude that now I know was possessed by a demon. It was weeks after I saw this girl. I was like in it, and I was a little bit sick too. So it was like my defenses were like lower. And I'll have to share another video on this, but like I met the most charming, handsome, wonderfully seeming man, and I was like, okay, here he is, like this has to be my soulmate, you know. And he could see right through me, and he was using his like spiritual gifts for like not good stuff, you know. And he was like, he was just trying to twist my mind, and you know, you're better, like he literally had Satan in him. He was like, you're so much better than your friends, like why are you friends with him, like you're so special, like your energy's different, and like, you know, all these things. And I'll spare the details, but I know that Jesus saved me that night where I thought it was my higher self. And I yeah, I fell into a deep, deep, deep depression that I almost wanted to kill myself from that, because my whole life blew up again, like even worse. Like I was so traumatized from this, and it was so disturbing. You know, I just was like, why are people trying to hurt me? You know, why would anyone want to hurt me? Like my heart just like couldn't handle it. So obviously I had to lay down my business, you know, because I was so traumatized. I couldn't like help people at that time. So I really, really struggled financially. My car ended up getting repossessed, where my guides told me that would never happen, and that they would warn me if that was about to happen. Lie. So this was 2023. I was deeply suicidal for probably 6 months. And then at that time, people in the spiritual community actually turned on me. They found out what happened. And then this girl who had like hated me before, like I knew that they had demons in them, but I didn't believe in Satan. I didn't believe that that was real. I thought that Jesus was just another ascended master. So I knew that like these people had demons in them and that they were coming after me, but I didn't see it as like I did know about the battle of like light and dark, but I thought I was connecting to the good energies, you know, and I thought that I was a light worker and that's why they were coming after me. And basically I was getting attacked from these people telling me like that just kill myself, like in literal text messages, you know, that everyone hates me and no one believes me and I'm making it up for attention. And my mom and sister didn't believe me either because they thought that I was like going crazy from ayahuasca, and they knew that I had been messing with this stuff. But also I know that that was also an attack, like that I didn't have my family with me. And um yeah, I like really turned against my mom. I remember at a time like these my guides actually told me that I like had to completely cut her off and never talk to her again. I didn't talk to her for like a year and a half. This is when I started doing psychic readings on TikTok in 2023. I didn't have a car for like 6 months. I had to make money somehow, and I was like, man, I think I'm a psychic. I think I'm intuitive. Let me just try. And the readings were really accurate. They were super accurate. I never became like super famous or whatever, but I had like 10,000 followers on TikTok, and this is how I survived during that time. This is how I made money. And yeah, I started doing those readings. I did have Christians coming against me, but it was not in a way that I could hear them because it was like aggressive. It was like, rebuke, there's this blasphemy, like capital letters, like screaming at me. So, like, if someone had gently been like, hey, like, you know, I know you're trying to like do what you think is right, but like you are messing with stuff that you shouldn't be, maybe I would have been more open. But it was just like, it felt like the attack was coming from there. You know what I mean? So eventually I got a job waitressing, which was like humbling for me because I hadn't done that in like 10 years. My aunt helped me get a car again, which was amazing. Like I started to kind of slowly come out of, you know, those suicidal thoughts and depression. I started to, you know, kind of be okay financially. And I remember this lady, like God started to plant those seeds. This lady comes in, she comes up to me and she's like, you play an instrument, and when you play, Jesus is healing people. And I was like, okay, like, you know, I can get behind Jesus, but like, I'm playing the flute. Like, I'm the one that's playing the flute. Like, he might be doing whatever, but like, I'm the one that has been playing for 20 years and, you know, tens of thousands of hours of practice. Like, I was in my ego where I felt like I wasn't getting like any credit for it. I was like, okay, maybe he's like doing something like cool, whatever. And she invited me to church and I didn't go, but like, that was like where Jesus started pursuing me. That was probably 2023. And then I eventually had rebuilt my business to a point where I was able to leave the serving job. Then I did ayahuasca again. Guys, like the darkness that I saw and experienced and witnessed through that is insane. I will talk more about that. In 2024, about a little over a year ago, I viscerally felt an energy that was terrifying, that haunted me for a long time. There was this guy that I thought that liked me, and at this point, the enemy had gotten me to such a point of like loneliness and like almost desperation for a partner because I felt like unchosen by like a lot of the men. Like they would date me and then they would be like, you're too pure, you know, you're too light, we don't want you. And you know, oh well, I like you but I don't want to date you. And I just had a lot of rejection and a lot of like not great men in my life. So I started to really like want a partner, you know. And this guy was around a lot and came to all my events and was so supportive. And I had this lie in my head that like I would never pay off my debt, you know, and it was starting to like suffocate and drown me. And I eventually connected with this guy that you know, was really interested in me, basically offered me marriage and said that he would pay off all my debt and that no man would ever do what he would do for me. Like only literally the enemy saying like this is your only option, like no one else, this is the only option that you have, you know, give this a try. I did not like him. And we kissed one time, but then I woke up in the next morning and I was like, this doesn't feel right, like I'm really not interested in him. I'm gonna, you know, tell him the truth. And because he was like, oh, I'm gonna take you out to dinner, it's like $150 a plate, I'm gonna pay your debt, like I want to marry you, I'm in love with you, you know, we're gonna fly to Aruba and all these places, like I'll pay for it. And he would talk about Jesus, you know. And the next day I call him and I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry, but like I'm not the type of woman that can let you take me out to dinner when I'm honestly not interested in you. Like I have to be honest that I don't really see it going anywhere. he flipped out. He started screaming at me on the phone. He was so angry. And the rage, like that was another attack that, I could see that, but I didn't know that again, it was the enemy like sending these energies after me. And he just was like screaming at me. It's so full of hate and rage. And I was like, I'm telling you the truth. Like, I don't know why you're so upset. Like, I'm choosing to not use you. And I don't know why, but like 6 months later, I felt this voice that was like, maybe you were too hard on him. He was so supportive. And he had told me back then that, he was going to stop praying for me. He was going to stop supporting my business. He like threatened me, that he was like, I already felt so alone. Like, I didn't have a lot of people in my corner. So it was like, I knew it was like another dagger. Like, you're going to lose this friend that you had, who can help you, and I don't know why, but 6 months later, like I hear this like nudge, and it's like, hey, maybe we're too hard on him, like try to reach out. So I reach out, and you know, and we kind of started being friends again, but I didn't really trust him, and I caught him in like a really, really deceitful lie, and I called him out on it. And again, he flipped out on me. He was screaming me on the phone, and saying like, you're a liar, you're a liar, and just screaming like, your business is gonna fail, no one's gonna support you, what are you gonna do without me? And I was like, whoa, I'm getting attacked. And I blocked him. And then again, a few months later, I felt this nudge that was like, you were too hard on him. And guys, I go to unblock his number. As I hit unblock, I feel this energy fly into my apartment and land all over my body. And it was like a sexual energy. Like, I was immediately like aroused, which I'm not attracted to this person at all. It was like, poof, and it hit me, and I was like, holy cow. And I like threw it off. And by the grace of God, it left. But it didn't fully leave. Like, it left like physically where I didn't feel it, but I felt so disturbed, guys. It was haunting me what had happened, because it was so real. I felt the energy. And now I know I didn't have protection. Yeah, I could throw it off, but I didn't have Jesus. So it was a little demon that was in that guy that even just unblocking the phone, basically, like, I had no protection because I didn't have Jesus, could just fly into my space and literally come after me. And I was so disturbed by it. And I remember I went to play at this music festival, my flute and stuff, and I had one of my best friends at the time stay at my place with her friend. And when I got back from the festival, she was like, hey, we weren't able to stay there. Like, there was an energy there at night, and we felt it like watching us, and we were so disturbed. Like, and your dog was even like reacting to it. And I was like, fuck. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, oh my gosh. And that ended my friendship with my friend, because she was so freaked out and disturbed. And it just, like, the enemy was just taking everything, everything. And I didn't know how to get it to leave. I still kind of felt it a little bit. And so I went to a witch shop, and I was like, I need your help. Like, I don't know how to make this thing leave. And they gave me, like, I don't know, some charcoal stuff, and I cleansed it, and it did leave, but I like felt so scared I didn't even stay for a few days. But again, none of this, when this was happening, did I think call on Jesus. It was like my memory was wiped, and I did not do it. So it left, but I was haunted by it. I was haunted by what had happened. I lost my friend. I didn't have a lot of money. Like, things were not going well. I was lonely. Like, it was just starting to really get so heavy. And I almost even rehomed my poor dog, because I just felt awful that I wasn't succeeding, in like getting a home for him and getting a yard. Like, and I like almost rehomed my dog, and he was like my last friend. Um, so that haunted me for a while. That was 2024. My business was like okay, but I was still struggling with finances, men, friends. I felt so lonely and lost. So I kept doing more stuff. I just was so alone. Then I did like a tantra training. And then I started to transition to saying God. It took me a long time, but in 2024, I did start to use the word God. It was a slow transition, but I don't know, it just started to feel like safer and like more all encompassing, but I was not yet like, okay, I need Jesus. And then God did send a Christian man into my life that started to talk to me about Jesus so much. And this was leading up to my 33rd birthday. I guess it was 2025, yeah. where I just felt like Jesus started to pop up in my life a lot. You know, I started to learn about him as an ascended master, and I started to be like, yeah, like Jesus, cool, like kind of remember him. And this man would just like talk about him all the time, and I started to get annoyed. And what it was for me was I had been so traumatized by men, obviously, like my whole life, that I was so against like falling down to a man and surrendering to a man. I was like, the Bible's all about men. What about women? You know? And I was like, I'm not gonna like worship a man. You know, I was so against it. And I know now that that's where the enemy gets a lot of women too, because of our trauma with men. Like, how can I believe that a man is gonna like save me, right? So he would talk about him all the time. And I was just like, okay, bro, like whatever, like Jesus is cool. I don't know. And he was just like, he was like on fire for Jesus, you know. And I actually met him at the tantra training, which was crazy. And he brought a lot of joy into my life. And we yeah, just I it was like so wild. Like we would go into like a coffee shop and there'd be like a little Jesus there, like Jesus loves you, like those little like figurines, and we'd like drive and there'd be a sign like Jesus loves you, and I was like, okay, like hi, like I get it, like cool, what do you want? And at this time, like I know it sounds crazy, I was like getting annoyed. Again, I was not like thinking of Jesus as like the Son of God. I was thinking of Jesus as like another guide, another ascended master who was just like Krishna or Buddha or whatever. And he was popping up in my life a lot. And this man really, I know that God put him in my life to start to open my heart more to Jesus, because he just talked about him all the time. You know, I was getting annoyed, and I was still in a lot of darkness. We ended up ending things, felt lonely again, and then 2025, this is where the real testimony starts. I know this is crazy, like an hour in, but this is the past like 6 months. What has happened is insane, absolutely insane. Could only be God. Could only have been God that saved me out of this, because my life was this close to being completely lost, like dying. So deeply lonely, deeply lonely. Didn't really have any friends left. And I was connecting with like an old acquaintance who was like very into aliens. It was very like woo. And I was kind of starting to get more grounded. I was like, okay, aliens cool, like whatever. I was starting to like close off to some of that and get like more grounded. And what's important about this is that he was still friends with the guy who had attacked me previously, that was so upset I wouldn't date him, that I felt that energy come from. They were still friends. So I don't think I'll ever truly know the deception and what was planned and what their intention was. Um, but I do believe that that man was involved and that they really wanted to hurt me. So I'm messaging this guy. We're like kind of acquaintances. He's like, oh, I might like move back to Austin. Like, I don't know. And I was so lonely at the time. I just want to like be around someone. And I was like, well, you know, I have like, you can stay in my room for a few days. You know, I'm in the living room. You know, I have a bedroom open. Like, why don't you come back to Austin and like just, you know, man, it's gonna be so hard to talk about this part. Why don't you just like stay for a few days, you know, get your footing or whatever. And I clarified, like, this is just his friends, like friends, I'm not interested. Um, I I still don't know. I don't think I can ever definitively say what happened. I definitely have my suspicions. I am pretty sure that this guy drugged me and dosed me with LSD. And I had done LSD years ago, so I can compare the experiences, which are very similar. It's very different than mushrooms. LSD does not have like a body sensation, where mushrooms you like feel it. Do I know for sure if this guy was involved? No. But I can say for sure either he had attacked me so much with like black magic or whatever and sent all of his demons after me, or he had dosed me. So one of the two happened, because I have never experienced psychosis. I'm not bipolar. I'm not schizophrenic. I had never dealt with anything like this, to where I like lost myself. And I had not done psychedelics in like at least 6 to 9 months. So I had actually like kind of been like, I'm good. Like I've experienced a lot, cool, great. I'm actually trying to like ground more and like get out of like the super woo. So he comes over, he drives from like Colorado, and he's just talking about the most esoteric things, and he's like way up in the clouds, like super ungrounded. I was just like, okay, bro, like whatever. And he stays for a few days, and we like, you know, we talked about some things. I don't know, like it seemed normal. And then there was a day that I went to meet one of my other friends at nature, and we had eaten together right beforehand. And either he had some crazy spells that he put on me, black magic, whatever, he sent demons after me, or he dosed my food. Um, because he did have access to my food and water, and there's like LSD that you can do it like a liquid form and just like put on food. So I go to meet my friend in nature, and after he leaves, the other male friend that I had, I start to trip. I did not know, this was the trickiest part, I didn't know I was on something or was getting attacked by a ton of stuff, because I thought I was ascending. I was starting to have hallucinations. I was starting to have all this awareness of like I thought the world was like ending, and I had no idea that I was not sober or not okay. I really just like, if you can imagine, just all of a sudden starting to hallucinate and see stuff, and like think that like you're on this quest like at the end of the world. Like I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything in my body. It wasn't like I was like passing out and like, like knew I was under the influence of anything. So I did not know for weeks that I was in this spiritual psychosis. I had no idea until I like, after all this, I was like, what happened? Okay. So basically, I'm in nature and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna take my clothes off, which I have never done, and like swim, and then I started to hallucinate and see these like fishermen there of like a past life that I was in as a mermaid, and like imagine that I was like leading these mermaids. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I'm on this like quest. I have to like, go through the forest. And literally, guys, all night I was lost in the forest, in the woods, naked, no clothes, and on this quest that I thought that I was like ascending to, like I had to like physically like go to another dimension, and I had to like walk there. And guys, I spent like all night, like 16 hours, no water. I was cold. I had to like cover with like plants and things at night because I was like shaking. I was so cold. I drank out of the creek. I literally felt like I was like on a show like Naked and Afraid, but I like didn't sign up for it. I did feel like I was like being watched or like recorded or something. Obviously I wasn't, but I was being watched by like energies that I guess just wanted me to go crazy, and I don't know. But yeah, so I'm just like on this quest. I'm seeing these like astral guards of like like I thought it was like physically walking through like other higher dimensions. I thought I had like completed my Earth's mission, was like ascending. Again, I had not done any psychedelics in a long time. And I wasn't super into the woo stuff at this point. So like I was actually trying to get like more grounded, and man, I probably walked like 7, 8 miles. I have pictures of my legs that are all cut up. Like now that I look at it, it looks like hexes and like curses, and like it looks like I didn't feel anything. That's the other thing, why I think I was on something, because I did not feel anything. I didn't feel any scratch. I was walking barefoot. Like I didn't feel any cuts. Um, and I was trying to like find places to sleep because I was so tired, and I would like try to find like grass and be like ants all over me. I would get like bit. I was like searching for like soft grass, and I just never found a place that was like comfortable enough to like lay down for more than a little bit. I was just like tired, so I just like keep walking and moving. Um, yeah, I looked at the pictures and I had like so many scratches on me. I had like deep cuts in my feet and like on my legs, like dozens of like cuts and scratches that were like bloody. And I um I did think of Jesus when I was on this. I was like, this feels like weirdly like I'm like going through like a similar thing. I'm like walking through the wilderness, like naked, like covering up, and like cuts on my feet. Like what's happening? And I eventually like the whole night goes right, and now it's like 6 a.m. The sun's coming up. I'm not hallucinating anymore. I'm so confused about what's happening, and yeah, the sun comes up, and I'm kind of like half expecting to like see Jesus on a bench. I don't know why, but I was just like, am I gonna meet Jesus and like go to heaven? Like what's happening? I thought I was like my Ned. I don't know. And yeah, then I kind of met God. And I'm prefacing this by saying I was no longer hallucinating. Like I actually do believe that this was real. So the sun comes up, and it's probably like, I don't know, 6:30, whenever the sun comes up. The sun is over here. Okay. I'm like sober, but I'm just like, I'm thirsty. Like, I'm like, what is happening? Like, where am I going? I couldn't find my way back to my car, my phone, that I just like left my car keys. And remember I told you I had been looking for like soft grass to lay on, and I see this like huge beam of light over on this side. The sun is over here. So I'm like, okay, but this is the light from the sun. Like, but over here is this like, there's like woods, and there's this huge beam of light over here that's like in this like half moon shape. It looked like, it was like a bright white light. Like, it looked like there were like, the only way I can describe it, like 1,000 spaceships like lighting up, the sky. And I was like, okay, that's the sun, but what's this light? Like, what's over here? I was like, God? Like, what is this? And I see this patch of like green grass, like the softest, luscious green grass that I've been like looking for all night. And this literally like a different light. Like, sun is over here. This is like whatever, God, I guess. I thought of, I don't know, this light over here. Then there was a different light being shined on the grass. Like, shining on the grass, and I was next to like a bathroom, so I was like, okay, this has to be coming from this like light that's on. I look, and the light is not on. There's literally just like a spotlight on this grass, but no light coming from anywhere is like a spotlight. It was just like literally light on the grass. And I didn't audibly hear out loud, but I just felt this, daughter, sit here. He was like, sit down, my daughter. Here's the grass, that you've been looking for all night. And I was like, God, like, and he was like, yeah. And guys, this isn't even the whole story. This is just like the first like third of like what all happened that finally fully saved me. But it was like, it was like this whole evil plan, right, to maybe hurt me, to get me raped. I don't know what they wanted to happen with this. I was so unsafe, but it was like God was there, the whole time. And he was like, sit down, my daughter, like, here's the grass, and I was like, God, like, I don't understand, like, what's happening. And he was like, just sit down, just be with me for a minute. And he was like, I know you're scared, like, I know you're lost, like, you're okay, I got you. And he was like, I thought he was gonna share like what was happening and like explain everything. It wasn't that at all. It was the most simple thing that he said. And he was just like, I want to show you something. And I was like, okay, like, are you gonna explain, like, what is happening? And he's like, I want to show you something. And I was like, okay. And like, I know that this was real, because there's no way I could have known that there was tiny jumping spider on this one blade of grass that he wanted to show me. He's like, I want to show you something. I'm like, okay. And then he like narrows in my vision to this one blade of grass and this tiny jumping spider with these big eyes. And he was like, isn't he cute? I was like, yeah. And he's like, I made him. And I was like, wow, he's so cute. And he's like, I love you. I'm like, okay, like, I love you too. And it just reminded me of like how I was a little kid, and I would just like sit in the grass and like look at bugs, and it was just so simple. It wasn't like the secret to the universe or like telling me what's happening. It was just, look at this little jumping spider that I created. We kept trying to get in this bag. And that was it. And then he said, okay, time to keep walking. I was like, okay. And then I was like, God, can you send someone to like help me find my car? Like, I'm kind of lost. Like, can you? I had not seen one person this whole time. I was like, can you please like send someone to help me? And then I got up and I kept walking. Probably walked like another mile. I found a water bottle full of water, so I got some water. And I'm telling you guys, my feet were like cut up, and like it almost looked like they were burned. Like the bottom of my feet, they were like charred, which didn't make any sense. And then I see a girl walking on the trail with a dog, and the dog runs at me. It's this beautiful, cute little doggy. And I was like, hey, I yelled at her, like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm naked. And it was like a blonde girl that looked like safe. Like, of course, he said a woman, to help me. And she was just happened to be walking on the trail like she does every morning. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, she gave me her shirt. She gave me her shoes. And she was like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I don't really know, like, what happened. I lost my car. Like, I'm so sorry. And took me to her house and like took care of me, and I called my mom at the time and I was like, Mom, I don't know what happened, like I'm scared, like I don't know what's going on. And they ended up taking me to the hospital and getting me checked out, where they did find that I was deeply dehydrated, and they diagnosed me with schizophrenia. They didn't like they didn't like deeply interview me to say like what happened to get you to this point. Like that would have been helpful, because then I could have remembered that a man stayed at my house and that all of a sudden I didn't know what's happening. So they didn't really like ask me anything. I was just like, I don't know what happened. Like I was off alone. I don't know. Like, yeah, they diagnosed me with schizophrenia, and then they got me an Uber back to the park. I found my car easily. Like I was fine, you know. But then when I went to text the guy that was like staying over, I was like, oh my gosh, he's probably so worried. Like, you know, did he take what about my dog? Like, he was probably like calling me nonstop. He didn't reach out at all. Like, and isn't that weird that like if you're supposed to stay with someone, they just don't come home? Like, when you be calling them, like, hey, are you okay? Like, he didn't reach out at all. And I texted him. I was like, something in my body just told him, do not tell him what just happened. And I texted him. I was like, hey, sorry, I was like out late. Did you happen to like let my dog out? And he was like, no, um I slept outside or whatever. And I just felt like a knowing that he needed to not be there when I got home. And I was like, hey, I would feel comfortable, you know, if you weren't there. I need some alone time and stuff. And he was like, oh, do you have a wild night last night? I was like, what a weird thing to say. And he goes, no worries, I'm actually already on my way back to California. I don't think Austin is for me at this time. He had fled the state. He'd fled the state. He was supposed to stay with me for like 3 more days. So that's why I'm very suspicious about what happened. So this next part I don't understand. This may have been just full demonic attack. I was like kind of fine, but when I got back to my house, I don't know if like if he had dosed my food, then I ate more, then I went into another psychosis. Like that could make sense, or at that time the demons were just like, get her, because I went into another psychosis where it was so deep and dark, and I like couldn't find my way out. I had like days missing where I would just like kind of like if you've seen The Chosen, you see Mary Magdalene, like she missed like memories like of days, like when she was getting so attacked. I didn't hurt anyone, I didn't hurt myself, but apparently I was like stealing stuff from my apartment complex, and they called someone on me, you know, and did a mental health check. I was missing from my friends for days, and they I don't know if it was them who called for a mental wellness check or my apartment complex, but luckily I had friends that like knew what I was texting them was like not normal, so they sent someone to check up on me and ask some questions and things, and I was still not here. So they sent me to another hospital where again they diagnosed me with schizophrenia and sent me to the mental hospital. Okay, which now like I it probably was the safest place for me, but I just wish they would have said like, can we call someone for you? Because I would have just called one of my friends and they would have come over and helped me, you know, or called my mom or something. And they were going to send my dog to the pound. Like I almost lost my dog. um so I spent 8 days in the mental health hospital, and they put me on a bunch of drugs. They sedated me at one time, put me into like an isolation chamber. They put this like shot in my arm that like made my arm hurt for days. And I still had no idea that like something was not right and that I maybe had been drugged or was getting attacked. I still thought I was ascending and like on this quest, and had been sent to the hospital on like a secret mission, which maybe I had been, but it was for God and eventually to save my soul. So in the hospital, man, guys, so traumatic. I witnessed so many dark things. I eventually like kind of like leveled out, and I still didn't really know what was happening, but eventually I had some people asking like, hey, you seem like pretty like normal, like why are you here? And I was like, I don't know. Um and there's probably a lot more that I could share in like a different video about what I saw in there, but basically like people screaming for help and the staff members literally laughing at them, not helping them. And I was like, oh, you're a demon, like cool. Like they were literally laughing at these people. And then this one guy comes up to me and he was like, help, like I'm scared, like I hear voices, like I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's real, I'm gonna like submit my life to God, like can you pray with me? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I mean, I think you just have to like say that, you know, and like just like rebuke all these voices. And like I taught him like box breathing, you know. And like I was a patient, I shouldn't be the one like helping these people, but they were just laughing at him. So like prayed with him, and then met this other guy in there who had a Bible, and then this crazy woman, she like ripped up his Bible, and I was like, what is happening here? Um, and this is where the biggest deception came in, which like literally almost turned my soul completely to Satan. I met a guy in there, and I was convinced he was my soulmate because he had also been drugged and dosed and like sent into psychosis, and they put him in here. We were here at the same time. I thought he was my twin flame. The story is getting really long, so I'll share like the highlights. He was an ex-gang member. Um, and he was a musician, an amazing musician, rapper, like poet, like writing all this amazing stuff. Like we bonded over that in there. And he would talk about God. He would quote scripture, and I was not in the word, so I couldn't see that the fruit was not it. And we kind of like fell in love. And I ended up getting out of the hospital, and he ended up escaping from the hospital, and because he missed me so much or whatever. And I did not know that this man had warrants out, and had actually like escaped like his like warrants that they were trying to figure out if he was involved in this crime. And basically we kind of like hid out together, and eventually they came and arrested him. But I really think that he was the biggest thing that Satan could dangle above my head. Remember, I said my entire life all I wanted was a husband. All I wanted was my soulmate. I had thought that I was getting so close to that in the manifestation world in the New Age, and I know now that if I had stayed in that, I never would find my husband. It would be the biggest thing that the enemy could keep from me and never give me, and keep that hope that I would find him, thinking I was so close, when in reality I was so far away from ever finding a man that I actually should marry. I was so far from that, and the enemy told me and convinced me that I was so close to manifesting my soulmate, right? So the last ditch effort was sending this man. And I'm talking like, now I see everything that Satan tempted Jesus with, right? If you just worship me, I will give you the kingdom. I will give you everything. And remember, I was trying to build my dream life. So I meet this man who's saying, I'm actually rich. I'm actually about to sign a contract with this producer. I'm going to give you $1 million of it to have a contract with your flute stuff. Like, I'm going to sign you $1 million. You're going to marry me. I'm going to give you everything. We're going to fly in a private jet to meet your mom. Like, I want to marry you. You're the love of my life. I'm going to pay all your stuff. You're going to have gowns. You're going to have fame. Like, we're going to live in this mansion, everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I finally am getting everything my life has led to. I'm finally getting it all. Like, yes, this makes sense because I've been working towards this my whole life. Like, of course, like, I would go through this horrible darkness of this mental hospital and getting drugged and whatever to, like, this is the reward, my twin flame, right? So we get engaged. No one knows this. Like, maybe 2 people and my mom know. I was briefly engaged to an ex-gang member. And this is how deep the deception was, because when he proposed, because it was after like a month, I like asked my dad, who I thought I was connecting to, and God, and I got a yes from both of them. I literally heard my dad's voice crying out saying, yes, this is the man I have for you. The biggest deception. So I said yes. And then I started to notice, just like, I was scared of him. I was scared of him, and I was getting drained, like, on so many levels. Like, I felt so drained, like something was sucking me. And who knows how many demons he had. He was in a gang for 10 years. Or I don't know how many years, but he was in prison for 10 years serving the sentence. And he had kidnapped people and done all these horrible things and would talk about God, but then his music was all glorifying him and his fame and his this. And told me this crazy story of how, like, his cousin tried to kill him and he was really the good one. Who knows? I still, to this day, will not know if any of that was true. But what I do know is the manipulation, how the enemy held money over my head. And I had gotten to the point where I was so drained. I was like, you know what, I don't think I can do this. I think you need to clear up your stuff. Like, I can't be worried that, like, people are coming after you or gonna, like, I'm gonna get involved. Like, I'm not gonna go to jail for, like, protecting you, and he was like, I promise I don't have warrants. You won't get in trouble. You'll be fine. I was like, okay, like, but I think I need to go back to Austin because I had left everything, and like we were like kind of hiding out and starting this new life together. And I heard the being say, like, take everything, leave your cat. I never saw my cat again. I had a cat for 10 years, never saw her again. Now I prayed for this cat and here she is. Never saw my cat again. So I'm telling him, like, I don't think I can be involved. Like, this is too heavy. This is too much. Like, I don't feel safe. You know, I feel so drained and tired. And I think you need to, like, clear up your life and call me in 6 months when you have it figured out. And then he, like, threatens me and he's like, okay, the engagement's off then. Like, I can't believe you're gonna leave me in this. Like, you know, I need you and like whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I love you, but like, this is too much. Like, and then of course the money comes up and he's like, oh, well, if you just drive me a little bit further, you know, I'll pay you $15,000. And I was like, ugh. Like, okay, fine. Like, I really, really was tempted by that, you know? And he was like, okay, I'm gonna hide out for a little bit. Like, I'm gonna, like, clear all this up. Don't worry. I have lawyers on my side. Like, I know I'm innocent. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, and, you know, I'm gonna send you to Costa Rica or something like that. And you just, like, commit to me and, like, don't be with any other man. I will marry you and I will, like, give you all the riches and, like, this lifestyle that you've been, like, praying for or whatever. And I was like, okay, like, whatever. And, so eventually I start to notice that something is deeply wrong. Guys, like, I woke up one morning to this huge mark on my body. And it was like a bruise and a slash. And I didn't feel anything at night, but I woke up and I, like, looked in the mirror and I was like, hey, I've got this big mark on my body and I don't remember it happening. Do you know what this is about? Because we had been intimate, you know, but he didn't physically touch me. And he was like, oh, well, you sit in the grass a lot, you know, and there's, like, bugs around. Like, it's probably from that. I was like, this is not, like, a bug mark. This is, like, a huge bruise and slash on my body that appeared overnight. And then I started to get really scared. And I felt drained, right? So now I know that something off of him was attacking me at night. And yeah, eventually he gets arrested. And because he had been texting someone that gave away his location or whatever, and then they almost arrest me. And remember, you told me I was going to be safe and not be involved. And they literally, like, I know that this was God too. Like, I didn't know I was helping a fugitive, like, hide a fugitive. I was listening to what he said, you know. Little did I know, it was all over the news. Every news station was looking for this man. So they have me in handcuffs and they're like, we almost arrested you, but we looked at your record, squeaky clean. Like, I'm telling you guys, I've never been to the principal's office. So they're like, we decided to not, and, like, please just stay away from this person. So he gets arrested and they take it away from me, and I just feel like finally I, like, met this person. It was, like, taken away, and, like, I'm so depressed again, and we're still talking, and he's in jail, and he's like seems like safer on the phone, like writing me all these love letters and poems and all these things, talking about when he gets out. And then I started to just kind of, like, question him and, like, had a few questions, and he would get really mad when I questioned him. He was like, no, like, if you're gonna marry me, you need to be fully in my corner. Like, you have to believe me 100%. I was like, well, I've only known you for, like, a month. Like, I think it's okay if I ask questions. Like, even my mom was, like, kind of convinced. And what I'll say again about my mom is my guides were telling me that my mom was involved in this, that she was involved she was involved in my dosing and drugging and, like, trying to kill me. Like, that's what they were telling me about my mom. So, like, how they tried to turn me on my mom. And I finally told her on the phone, I was like, Mom, they're telling me this. And she was like, Kylie, you have to repent in the name of Jesus. Like, you have to tell them be gone. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, Jesus, like, what's happening? And so anyway, I started questioning him. He's in jail. I started to be like, I don't know, like, if what's about this part in your story? Like, why'd you say this? Like, this is really true. And eventually that had happened a few times where he would get really mad when I would question him. And I was like, you know what? Like, it was like I built up my strength, and I was like, I finally feel strong enough to, like, cut this off. And I was like, if you really love me and this is all really true, then serve your time, do the trial, prove your innocence or whatever, and then we can be together. But he was like, no, if you leave now, it's done. And I was like, Okay. Okay. So luckily that ended. And it was just really hard because I never felt like that connected to someone. But now I've checked on him, and he actually has been sent to another mental institute. So it was very possible that he was also like in deep psychosis and getting attacked and all that. This was maybe 6 months ago. So basically, after we ended things, I was pretty suicidal, and the voices were telling me to kill myself, and that because it was like I felt like he was the only thing I had, but that's the problem, right? I didn't have Jesus, so this man was the only thing that I felt that I had, the only person that understood me, the only person that was helping me. So it felt like I had nothing. And I just remember this day, they were just like really in my ear, like, just kill yourself. Your life is so wrecked. You're never going to be able to rebuild this. Like, you should just die. Like, there's nothing left for you. That he was the one, right? There's no one else. Like, if you can't have him, you're not going to have anything. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, and there was this other night, guys, like, literally heard like I literally heard demons at my door. Like I somehow knew that there was going to be a battle that night. Like it literally felt like there was a battle for my soul, and there was. And I just like did what I knew how to do. I was like sprinkling salt and like making a cross on the door. Like I had a Bible. I was like, I don't know, like, do I open it? And I heard growling at the door, and I was terrified. And I just started like reading the Bible, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And I'm just like reading it, like shaking. And the attacks continued because they were telling me to kill myself. And then I literally was like, I finally said out loud, I was like, Jesus, like, I think I need your help. Like, all the stuff that I'm doing is not working. I tried to like fight it off. I tried salt. I tried like protecting in a field. Nothing was working. This is the moment that I knew that I was so wrong. I was so weak in the spirit. I was so wrong. I had no power. I had no power to fight these things. I tried everything I knew how to do. I tried everything I learned. I really believed that the guides that I had were demons because I had asked them through this period when I was in the hospital. I was like, guys, help me. Like, what's going on? They would just be like, it's all good. Like, no worries. Like, you're fine. You're ascended. You're supposed to help these people. I really believe they turned on me, and that's what they were the whole time. So the humbling moment was when nothing was working that I did. And I called out for Jesus, and it stopped. Like this. It was like, I was like, oh shit. Just stopped. And I was like, wait, Jesus? And I was like, okay, I have connected with all these other beings in meditations and like called upon their energy. I was like, what is it like when I connect with your energy? So I was like, can I connect with you? Like, and I just imagined him in front of me, and I was kind of scared because I imagined like condemnation and like anger and like shaming, and I was like kind of like bracing myself, and I just felt his energy fill my space, and it was literally what I had been searching for my entire life, the feeling that I thought I would get from a man, you know, the divine masculine energy I had been looking for. I felt so safe, you know? I didn't feel any judgment or anger. I felt peace, and I felt like safe, and I felt cared for, and I felt cherished, like at the way that I always wanted a man to look at me, like, and see me. I felt from him. And it was like this hole that had been in my heart for so long, wanting this man. It was like he just showed me it was him the whole time, you know. I just felt so precious. I felt so beautiful. I just felt so protected. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like your energy is so loving and beautiful. I was like, I'm scared, like just help me, you know? And then I still was dealing with, you know, some attacks and things because I hadn't fully given my life and I had no idea what I had opened up. So yeah, he was there and I was starting to connect with him, but I still had so many open doors, guys, and energies. And so I'd like to say it was like instant, I was saved right then. No, it took me a little bit longer. But the one day when I was feeling that attack coming in, I just like ran into church and I felt something being like, don't go to church, like just kill yourself, you know. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go to church. So I like drove really fast and I went into church and I was just crying and crying and crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I could feel the energy purifying me. And I prayed with people and I had like no money at the time. Like I was really struggling. And I just had them pray for me. And this girl I was talking to, I was like, I'm kind of short on money. And they're like, oh, we have like a pot of money over here for people. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, just take whatever you need. I was just like, what? Like, is this a trick? And she was like, you know what? Like, my parents gave me this at dinner last night. Here, it's for you. She gave me $40. They gave me $40 from their like money pot. I just like walked out with $80 and I was just like, huh? Like, God, like, what? And yeah, I just started to like pray more. I had not fully given my life. And then you think it'd be over then, right? No. I had 2 weeks of like peace. I got a different job that was starting to bring in some money. I was starting to get blessed with that, like starting to pick up myself. And it would have been easy if that was it, but no. It that was not all that happened. I was like fine for 2 weeks. And then I had this tooth that had cracked about a year prior. I didn't have any money. I didn't have dental insurance. I just like put it off. And I can't remember exactly when throughout this period that I felt the pain come in, but it was like during this time, there was a night that like literally for like 16 hours straight, I felt the most extreme pain I've ever felt in my life. Like no painkillers would let it go. That's when I started praying to God. I was like, God, please take this away. He didn't. I literally was like screaming in pain, guys. It was so severe. And I was like, oh, something is wrong. And it turns out it was infected. It was an abscess. And so I got a job at like a restaurant, but it was like paying me like $10 an hour for the training. I was trying to like afford to get the tooth pulled. It was like $200. And I just couldn't afford it yet, so I had to wait. And then it just got so worse. It got infected. It turned into an abscess. So this is a scar from the surgery I had to have. so so all of a sudden I had to go to the hospital. I got the tooth pulled. I like God literally came in, got me free therapy, got me this insurance that since I wasn't making a lot of money at the time, I ended up qualifying for, which cost nothing to get the tooth pulled. But it was already infected and the dentist didn't know, and it was like starting to swell, and I was like, you think it's infected? He was like, no, it's fine, like you're fine. And then after I got pulled, it just started to swell more and more and more, and I was like, something is wrong. This really, really hurts. I'm in a lot of pain. Like I couldn't open my jaw all the way. So I went to the hospital, and like I wish they would have done the scan because they would have seen the abscess. And I would not talk to my mom again because we had another falling out. I had not been talking to my mom. Like I was like on my last legs of like trying to survive. And then it got worse and it started to swell up so much. Like it was like, you'll see one of my reels, it was like swollen out to here. And I was like, what is happening? And I'm like praying and I'm like, God, please heal me. Like it didn't happen. But I like closed my eyes. I was in so much pain. I was starting to like I don't know if I was about to die, but like I would close my eyes and I would like see heaven, and I was like, okay, like I'm like in so much pain, I'm like hallucinating. So I like closed my eyes at one point, because this was after I'd gone to the hospital. I thought everything was fine. And I was like trying to take my painkillers, like my ibuprofen, but my throat was getting so swollen that I could barely get it down. I was like, oh my gosh, is my throat swelling? Like I'm like struggling to like take full breaths. I'm like, oh my, I think I'm gonna die. And I like closed my eyes. I was like, Jesus God, like help me. Like should I go to the hospital? They were like, yes, go to the hospital. And I was like, oh crap. And I like called the ambulance, you know, and I go to the hospital and they're just like, yeah, your throat's swelling and we gotta get you into surgery right away. And I was like, what? Like, no, please. Like, I'd known that they can drain the abscess through your mouth or your throat. And I was like, please, like, I'm a flutist. Like, please don't do this. Please don't cut my throat. Please don't cut my throat. And they're like, it is extremely severe in advance. We have to go through your throat. And I was like, no, like, please. And I ended up going to surgery, and apparently I went into a coma. I woke up like a day later. It was supposed to be like a 20-minute surgery. I went into a coma, and I eventually woke up to a breathing tube and a catheter, and I was like, what is happening? And they took the tube out, and I couldn't breathe. They take the tube out, and I literally could not breathe for like probably 20 seconds. I had like 10 doctors in there be like, breathe, breathe, oh my god, take a breath, like, can you breathe through your nose? I was just like, no, like, I could not breathe. Guys, he was coming for me, and eventually was able to like I coughed up this like blood clot, and I took my first breath, and it was like it was like literally being breathed back to life, and I was just like, whoa. And I was in the hospital for 8 days. I was in the ICU, and guys, the pain when I woke up from that surgery, I was on morphine, I was on like all the things. I was so anxious, so uncomfortable, but man, God really came through for me. I had so many people come and visit me, and just like come sing for me. Like, I remember my friends came in and they sang Amazing Grace, and I was just like crying. I was just like imagining Jesus there, and it sounded like angels, you know. I had so many people praying for me, and I know that that was part of it too. Like hundreds of people praying for me, and I was like, God, you're doing something here, you know. I had not fully given my life to Jesus, but I was like close, you know. And I was like, thank you so much, like, for saving my life. And after a few days of like being all on the drugs and not having any clarity of like what the heck is happening, like, guys, I was so weak. I lost like 15 pounds of muscle. Like, it was like bad, and I had never gone through any health thing like this before, you know. And I heard like clear as day, like after a few days of being like super loopy and stuff, I was like, God, what is happening? Like, what is going on? He said three things. You're gonna write a book, teach as many people as you can to play the flute, and teach as many people as you can how to use music, you know, for healing. Not traditional sound healing, don't freak out. But I was like, what? Like, you want me to write a book? Because I had thought about it years ago, but I was like, no one cares about my story. Like, who the heck am I? But now it's like for him. And he's told me the name of it and everything. And it was like the name of a program I was going to do years ago, The Flutist Reborn. He was like, you're going to share with people how you went from Christianity to New Age, back to Christianity, from and then back to classical music too. And you're going to tell your story and how you come back to Jesus. And I was just like, okay, whatever you want me to do. Like, oh my gosh, okay. And I had a friend come in and pray for me, and eventually, yeah, so I got out of the hospital. The recovery was brutal. It was really brutal. I was a little bit suicidal again, just because it was so painful, guys. I like couldn't open my jaw. I still can't all the way. This was like 4 months ago, and it was just like I could not sing. I had lost the whole upper range of my voice, and I was like, God, please don't take away my musical gifts. Like, this is like the one thing that you've like given me. Like, please. I couldn't play the flute. Like, again, the enemy took that away for a little bit, but God set it up perfectly because I had just started learning the harp, so I couldn't sing. I couldn't play the flute, but I had a harp, and it was really hard, like having to literally relearn how to breathe, eat, chew. Like, man, I was so weak, and I just went to Bible study and had people praying for me, and I was like, I really think like God saved my life. You know, I was really gonna die, and it still took me a few more weeks to like fully give my life to Jesus, because I was still like kind of like, oh well, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I don't know if I want to like fully submit, like, you know, or like I don't want to be a Christian, like. You know, but I think just like continuing to go to Bible study, and like I had some friends who had left New Age over the years. I was like, okay, well, I know they're not crazy. Like, since I know these people, it seems like something's happening. Like, I don't know, they can't all be crazy, right? So, I don't really know what the like final tipping point was, but I think it was kind of just like, why not? Like, what do I have to lose? I was like, you know what? Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing, and my life is not I have not been able to create my dream life. So I was like, maybe what you have for me is like way better. Honestly, I done messed it up so much. Like, why not? What do I have to lose by going all in? If it turns out to be hocus pocus and like I'm wrong, I can just go back, right? If it turns out not to be true, if it turns out that Jesus is not the Son of God, that he is not my savior, that I don't have to repent, then I'll just backtrack, right? Whatever. There's nothing to lose, but potentially a lot to gain. So I was like kind of like rationally think about like why not, you know. So I decide, I wouldn't say my full heart was in it, but I was like, you know what, like I invite you to my life, you could be the Lord of my life, like I submit everything, I don't know what I'm doing, help me, and I want you to pick my future husband. I do not know what I'm doing. I want you to do everything, like come into every area. And since then, yeah, I've been going to Bible study with these amazing girls, and God has just blessed me with friends, like true friends. I know that that's him, because that's an area that I did not have. And I prayed for this cat. I said, whenever you think that maybe I could have like another cat, and I really want a Siamese cat, God, like whenever you think I'm ready. And I said, I only want her if it's like really like, or I'm her mama, we're supposed to have each other, and like show me a big sign, and this cat had jaw surgery. I was like, I just had jaw surgery. Anyway, so I started to be able to play the flute again, sing again, and I just started to shift stuff, and I was like, you know what, let me just get rid of all the new age stuff. I didn't know that having a Buddha statue was worshiping other gods. I just started to get rid of all that stuff. And I forgot to mention that the biggest deception that I was under, like, was when I had been assaulted back in 2022. I had changed my name because I was so afraid of this guy that he was going to come after me. It was like attached to my business name, and I got the name Lyria from my guides, and they like wrote it in the sky in this meditation, and I loved the name. I thought it was so feminine and beautiful and everything. And I started to get rid of all my new age stuff piece by piece. I was like, okay, wow, I'm convicted on sex, not gonna have sex before marriage. Never thought I would say that. I'm giving up hape, weed, all these things, like boom, 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 boom. I was just like, poof, getting rid of all of it. And I was door dashing one night, and God was like, there's one more thing, one more big thing. And I was like, okay. He was like, your name. And I was like, oh no. My mom is so happy about this, because I literally had like given up my name, my identity for the past 3.5 years as Kylie. My name is Kylie. And I was going by Lyria. I never thought I would come back to Kylie. And he was like, it did not come from me. I did not give you that name. And I was like, oh, okay. Because it was the name of my business, it was on every channel. And I was like, all right. So literally like the next day I made a post. I was like, my name's Kylie. I'm going back to it. It's not my Starsy name. My name is Kylie. And I just prayed that God like allow me to love that name as much as Lyria, because I would meet people, they'd be like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like I've never heard that name. I just felt like I felt special, and it was, lyrics, it was related to my business, but I was like, help me to love Kylie as much as I love that name. Help me to reclaim that identity, And someone commented on my post that, and I forgot this. They said the meaning of your name means narrow channel, like as if like the narrow path, And I was like, wow, that's pretty beautiful, So my mom is ecstatic, and yeah, I just started getting rid of stuff left and right. I've given up Reiki. I've had clients reach out to me wanting to work with me, and it's been tempting, but I've been like, I'm sorry, like I don't do this anymore, but like I can give you practical advice and like pray for you. And they've basically been like, nah, we're not interested in that. So I've had a lot of faith with like giving up a lot of financial aspects. I'm like door dashing right now, and I felt like kind of like embarrassed about that, but then God was like, you're listening to the Bible for like hours a day, and like new age to Jesus testimonies, like you're in exactly the right spot. So now how I have shifted my sound healing, I'm not going to call it sound healing anymore. I'm working on changing my website. My new business name is Heavenly Sound, which is kind of two meanings, like sound is in like music, but also like grounded and rooted. And I will be making an album about the Bible. I will be reading Bible verses and playing my flute in the background, using it for God, and playing in church again. Now I don't feel like I can't do that, And yeah, I will be making probably like worship music, and I'm no longer calling myself a healer. At the beginning of my events, I'm saying like, just so this might be very relaxing, but all healing that might happen here comes from God. And if you want to talk about Jesus at the end, please come chat with me. And I wear, my necklace, and I don't call it sound healing. I say like relaxing music, and I teach more about like the nervous system and the scientific benefits. I'm not talking about the chakras and stuff anymore. I have asked him about the singing bowls, and it's kind of like he hasn't been like, yes, evil, get rid of it, but it's more like my bowls are colored, which represents the different chakras, so I might change it to like just white bowls, and I like the bowls, like I said, they are the C major scale. So it's not inherently like demonic, but it's like how they're used for the chakras, and how it can lead people into a deeper trance. So now I just invite Jesus into that space and I say, like, protect them, keep them safe. And I think that I can help to be a bridge for that, eventually I might just not play the bowls, and just like get more trained on the harp and things like that. But for now, yeah, I'm just not calling myself a healer. I'm not calling it, I'm not doing like meditations for people. So I'm still shifting that, and figuring out what exactly that looks like. But yeah, I'm back to my name, Kylie. I'm in Bible study every week with amazing women. I go to another Bible study that's co-ed. I go to church every week. I have listened to and read a lot of the Bible, which is amazing, and actually the best book ever that actually replaces all the other books that I read. And I've gotten rid of, all the books, all the stuff, and even small things I didn't even think about, like a dream catcher, or like, the sage I had, like all of it's gone. And I have gone through deliverance where they prayed for me, and I was kind of like, in my head I was like, I don't think I have anything left. Like, I've repented to God about everything. I've cried for hours in church, and but they prayed for me, and they prayed for the spirit of witchcraft to leave me, and I felt my body get on fire, and I felt something leave, that I was still like a little bit depressed, and it just left. And I was like, oh, I did not know that I was involved in witchcraft. Like, I've just been saying, like joking away. I was like, God, I was so wrong. Oh my goodness, how have I been so very wrong? I'm so sorry. Like, I really didn't know, and a lot of people don't know. So have grace for them. I'm going to share a lot more, like, man, just all the deception and the ways that maybe I could have been reached, and how just how like enticing it is, and all these things. I have also gone through deliverance about the men that I've been with, and cut all that off, and like prayed for them. And yeah, so just completely rebuilding my life. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm very lucky that I was saved in time. I really gotta blow my nose, guys. I've been crying a lot. I've been crying a lot. So my friends are baptizing me next week at the place in nature where I got very lost. So I was kind of like, God, where should I do it? And he's like, oh, you going back there? I'm like, because I haven't gone there since, and I used to go all the time. But now for me, it's tied to this like traumatic, embarrassing thing. And he's like, no, you're gonna go back and reclaim that as a place that led you to me, not this place that was traumatizing and embarrassing that you can't go anymore. You're going to get baptized in that water by your friends and reclaim that as a blessing of a place that led you back to me. So that's it. That's my story. I know it's long. I know it's pretty wild. I don't know yet. I've been praying, like, should I, come after this mental health hospital? Because I also got like assaulted in there. This lady like pushed me in the wall, and they didn't refill my prescription after I got out. So I was just going up and down, and they forged my signature on these papers. And I don't know if it's like my anger and stuff that wants to kind of like come after them, because now I have a bill for like $5,000 from that, and also from the hospital, from the surgery. Like, I've actually accumulated more debt. And I'm going to pray about that. I'm not sure if it's worth my time to kind of like go into a lawsuit with them or whatever, but I'm sharing about it now, and I know that God handles the justice with that, and the guy, or whatever the heck happened. I don't really want to be involved. Uh, yeah, so I will say, as I've laid down, my whole business, what I do still offer is teaching the flute. So I teach the classical flute, I teach the Native American style flute. I have a really cheap course. That is like the only money that I make right now for my business. So if you want to learn the flute and want to support me in that, I'd appreciate it. I'll put the stuff below. But I don't have a business for Jesus. Like, I'm not making money off this video. So that's the only thing I have left right now. And like, for people to hire me for gigs, I play in nursing homes, stuff like that. But other than that, I'm just doing DoorDash and praying. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, especially if you listen to all this. I know it's really long, and thank you for your love and support. Like, man, to get those negative comments and then to read the hundreds of comments on that post of like support, like, it has helped so much. Thank you. It has helped fill me up, because yeah, there's embarrassment with this, and to basically renounce everything, and like the people that still know me in the new age be like, oh my gosh, she's like turning against us, like, are you crazy, like, oh, we're worried about you. Like, it is hard, it's not easy to say that, you know. So like I really appreciate, you know, the support. It just like it's filled me with a lot of strength, and I know I can only get through this with the strength of God. You know, it's just not something I'd be able to do myself. So sending you all so much love, and yeah, I'll be posting more videos. Just let me know what you might be interested in. I'm not going to be like preaching Christianity, like I don't know too much about it yet to try to do that, but I can share about the new age, and how deeply messed up it is. God bless. Thank you.